Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to talk about something today that could literally make or break your next big funding round or that strategic partnership you've been working on. We're talking about what happens when investors look under the hood of your AI. It's time to go past the glossy pitch deck and get into the real engine room.
Okay, before we really get going, just a quick heads up. This is part 6 of a 10-part series, and it's a brief overview of a really in-depth research report from Virtualization Options LLC. And you know the drill. This is all for informational purposes. It's not legal, financial, or investment advice, and it doesn't come with any kind of warranty. So as a leader, you're pouring money into marketing your AI, right? You build this beautiful showroom floor. But here's the thing. Today's really savvy investors and partners, they've learned to walk right past all that shiny stuff. They're heading straight to the back, to the factory floor, because they want to see how things are really made. And their whole philosophy is simple: trust but verify. This slide, this just nails the gap they're trying to find, the gap between your marketing claims and the technical reality. So you say you have an enterprise-ready AI platform? Great. But is it really just a bunch of proof-of-concept systems kind of duct taped together with a whole lot of manual effort? Because finding that out, well, that's exactly what a technical due diligence team gets paid to do. So how do they do it? How do they verify? Well, it's not random guesswork, that's for sure. They have a system, a framework. They peel back the layers of your tech stack just like an onion. So let's walk through it. Let's see how they think, starting with the absolute bedrock, the place where, honestly, most AI projects live or die.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the data foundation. Look, everything, and I mean everything in AI begins and ends with data. If that foundation is shaky, if it's got cracks, if it's built on old, clunky systems, then forget it. Nothing you try to build on top of that is going to be stable. It's just not going to scale.
And what's so critical to understand here is that these aren't just tech questions, not at all. Each one of these points translates directly into business risk. An evaluator looks at a poor data infrastructure and they don't see an IT problem. Nope, they see a fundamental roadblock to your company's entire future with AI. It doesn't matter how brilliant your data scientists are, if the data's a mess, it's a total non-starter.
It's one thing to have some genius data scientist cook up a brilliant model on their laptop. That's great. It's a lab experiment. But investors and partners, they need to know something else. Can you take that experiment and run it reliably, at scale, out in the wild? This is the moment of truth. This is where they figure out if you're running a science fair project or a real production powerhouse. And to figure that out, they zoom in on your ML ops, your machine learning operations, basically how you manage the whole life cycle. And this industry data, wow, it's pretty eye-opening. It shows that most companies haven't even nailed the basics yet. Now, you could look at that and see a problem, but what it really is a huge opportunity. If you've actually invested here, you're going to stand out big time. And listen to this quote from a guy who does this for a living, a lead on a VC's technical due diligence team. He says, "You can't manage what you don't measure." He goes on to say that most companies just can't answer basic questions about how their models are doing in the real world. That's the single biggest red flag they see. Think about that. If you can't tell an investor how your model is performing this very second, you are not ready for their money, period. This all boils down to a concept called observability. It's simple, really. It's knowing not just if your model is working, but how and why it's performing, right now in real time. If you can't see what's happening from one moment to the next, if you only find out something's wrong when an angry customer calls, you're flying completely blind. And let me be clear, that is a massive risk that investors and partners are just not willing to take on anymore. So you have a weak foundation, you have poor operations. What's the end result of all that? Well, it's the slow, quiet buildup of a silent killer of value: technical debt. And when it comes to AI, this isn't your normal tech debt. It comes in some really unique and frankly pretty dangerous forms. So as a leader, here's the question you have to go back and ask your team. How much of this stuff is hiding in our systems? Because I guarantee you, when an investor uncovers this, they don't just see a messy spreadsheet or some clunky code. They see a tax on every single thing you want to do in the future. They see a drag on innovation. They see higher costs. They see a massive, blinking red light of business risk. Okay, so we've talked a lot about what these evaluators are looking for, and let's be honest, what they're scared of finding inside your tech stack. So now for the most important part. How do you flip the script? How do you take this area that feels like a huge risk and turn it into your greatest strength? It really all comes down to a fundamental shift in mindset. You have to stop thinking of your technical infrastructure as just a cost center, as some line item on the IT budget. A solid, well-documented, and constantly monitored AI infrastructure is a strategic asset. It is the engine that actually builds credibility, that lets you move faster than your competition, and that, at the end of the day, gets you a higher valuation.
So we've basically handed you the investor's playbook. You now know exactly what the smart money is looking for when they pull back that marketing curtain. So the only question left is this. The next time someone comes knocking for due diligence, is your technical infrastructure going to be your biggest asset or your biggest liability? The choice of what they find, that's up to you.